From the GB Newsroom, I'm Sam Francis. The headlines at 7 o'clock exactly. First news from Northern Ireland, where the First Minister has apologised today to the families of alleged informers who were killed by the IRA. And she says that she's wholeheartedly committed to healing wounds of the past. It's after a major investigation found more lives were probably lost than saved by a double agent during the Troubles. Codenamed Steak Knife, he was working covertly for the British Army inside the IRA's internal security unit. Operation Canova, which was conducted by Bedfordshire Police, examined more than 100 murders and abductions linked to that unit. Well, Steak Knife is widely believed to have been a West Belfast man who was 77 when he died last year. Solicitor Kevin Winters, who represents a number of the victims' families, says the agent needs to be identified officially.
The decision not to name Fred Scappatisha as the agent Steak Knife has been difficult for many to accept. The legal and technical rationale for doing so will be lost on many people, particularly next of kin of those murdered.
In other news, George Galloway has said that he has hundreds of candidates ready to run at the next general election. The leader of the Workers' Party of Britain was sworn into Parliament on Monday, following his by-election win last week. Well, speaking to Neil Oliver, the MP said his success in Rochdale was the straw that broke the camel's back.
The spread of candidates, challengers, new parties, independent candidates and so on is now proceeding like wildfire. If I tell you that I have now in my pocket more than 300 prospective parliamentary candidates, all paying their own election expenses, by the way, because we can't pay them, more than 300 Workers' Party parliamentary candidates. Imagine that.
Well, you can see that full interview with George Galloway on YouTube and online at gbnews.com tonight from 9 p.m. and then again on Sunday with Neil Oliver at 6 p.m. if you miss it. In other news, the Education Secretary says that she would have probably punched Rude Ofsted staff after hearing about a school inspection. Addressing school and college leaders, Gillian Keegan says she was shocked to hear about some people's experiences. Sources close to the MP say her off-the-cuff comments during a Q&A were meant to be light-hearted and were not a threat of violence.
I've heard from my own, my own constituency, people say, I heard recently, actually, a fantastic school I went into, and they told me how the Ofsted, their Ofsted experience had gone, and I was shocked. I mean, I was actually shocked. I thought, God, if I'd have met these people, I'd have probably punched them. They were really rude.
And finally, a historic painting has been damaged by a group of pro-Palestinian activists at Cambridge University this afternoon. If you're watching on TV, you can see here footage showing that painting of the former Prime Minister Lord Balfour there being sprayed with red paint before being slashed apart. The government's advisor on political violence and disruption has described that demonstration as outrageous and, he said, senseless. But the pro-Palestine Action Group claims that the piece symbolised bloodshed of the Palestinian people since the Balfour Declaration in 1917. Those are the headlines. More coming up at 8 o'clock. In the meantime, you can sign up to GB News Alerts. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now, though, it's back to Lee.
So we're talking about shoplifting tonight on the show. I'm in the Pimlico Food and Wine Store. Funnily enough, we're in Pimlico with Ollie, the shopkeeper. Hi. Ollie, there's been a massive increase in shoplifting over the past 18 months. How does it affect your business on a daily basis, and what are you doing to combat it?
Well, basically, it's rising every year, but we try to look out for it and have a heavy... likewise, a few more extra staffs, which is costing us as well as the losses we take.
Okay, and what sort of support do you get from the local police when you report shoplifting?
Barely minimal.
Minimal. Do they actually come out and see you?
When we press out the dangerous alarm.
Okay.
Totally...
Would you say it happens every day, shoplifting?
Once a week, I would say, maybe twice a week, yeah.
And what sort of financial implications does that have on your business?
Well, obviously stock loss, one, and secondly, customers, they're trying it on all the time. They always try for the hidden areas.
And you feel like the shoplifters that come out these days sort of think they're never going to get caught?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing your stories with us, Ollie. I think now we're going to go back to the pub for a pint. So today I'm joined by former Metropolitan Police Detective Peter Blakesley, and back as left in the corner, he's back again, look, Stephen Pound, former Labour MP. He's back for about the umpteenth time. Guys, straight into it. Shoplifting boom, crime rife on our streets, people just walking into shops, taking stuff off the shelves. We've seen it day after day after day. We see it in my own community in Ashfield. They're just going in, Peter. What's going off?
Courtesy of British policing, in 2024, it hurts me to say this, but crime does pay.
Okay.
There are no deterrents for people these days. You can go into a shop, help yourself. The likelihood of coming out of that store and bumping into a patrolling police officer are virtually zero. The chances of being suitably punished when you get to court, again, is highly unlikely. So without deterrence and without police patrolling the streets and making them a hostile environment for criminals, this is what we've got.
Stephen, why aren't police locking people up and going out to robberies and burglaries? Because as Peter quite rightly says, they're going into shops and just taking stuff and going home.
Well, mainly, you can't ignore the fact that there were 20,000 less police officers between 2010 and 2020. You can't ignore that.
I'm talking about today, Stephen.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is that takes some time. You don't just get police officers out of the bottom drawer of your desk and pop them on. You've got to actually train them. You've got to bring them in. Look, there is a real difficulty here. I was walking down Oxford Street this morning. Every single shop had a private security guard, and every single shop, including the street shops. Yeah. So that means that they've basically ceded control of the streets. Look, what we've got to do is to increase the policing and use the technology. I always thought that the new technology, so not just the fingerprints, but DNA, smart water, all those things would enable us to attract and actually attack these issues. Yeah. But we don't seem to be doing. Maybe a little less time on demonstrations, a little more time on charging into a shop and steaming the place might be good for all of us.
So Stephen says we want more police on the streets. I agree with that, but has the culture changed? Has policing gone soft since your day, Peter?
It has, but having more police on the streets is not necessarily the answer. They've got to be properly trained and they've got to be shown how to do the job. Yeah. And so much experience has been lost. Yeah. We've now got probationary police officers patrolling or answering calls with other probationary police officers. Yeah. There's a huge lack of experience. In terms of has policing gone soft, well, what has happened in the last couple of decades or so, senior police officers have all trotted off to Oxbridge to get their degrees and other red brick universities. And then they've come back to policing with their heads full of pseudo-intellectual claptrap, which has no place in policing. Yeah. Policing is essentially a simple concept, but they can't grasp that. Yeah. And now they are so obsessed with their diversity, equality and inclusion to the detriment of many other things. Quite frankly, it's a basket case.
Stephen, is it time to bring back the Sweeney School of Police Training?
I think you'd fit well into that, to be honest. I can imagine you firing up the Quattro and kicking the door down.
That's ashes to ashes, not Sweeney.
Yeah. We're the Sweeney and you're Nick. Yeah. No, I can see it. Look, I mean, I think there are real flaws with that Sweeney. You talk to any modern police officer, I'm not talking about, the sort of the super PC police officer, but most coppers will say, look, we can't do it that way, it just doesn't work. Look, you've not mentioned the other side of the equation, and that is the public. The police are the public in uniform, and if you don't have the public on your side, it's damn difficult to be a good policeman.
And on that very note, there is so little respect for the police now. Not only...
But why is that, Peter?
Well, of course, there's the big headline-grabbing cases, the murderers, the serial rapists, and all those atrocities. But policing has turned its back on the moderate mainstream in recent years, because if you're burgled, have your car stolen, have your phone stolen, have your expensive bike nicked, or you're a victim of fraud, or you're a shopkeeper, you will not, in all likelihood, get a thorough investigation. Yeah. And those are the crimes that happen to everybody. And people now who are victims of crime so often tell me, when I say, did you report it? They go, what's the point? It won't be investigated.
Just a few years back, Peter, maybe about 10 years ago, I think it may be, my mum and dad, who will be watching this, by the way, had their shed broken into and some stuff taken. The police didn't come out. They gave him a crime number over the phone. I found out who'd stolen this stuff, so I went round in a bit of a temper to have a word with them, should I say. Within 5 minutes, the sirens were going, and the police come to interview me.
And sadly, there are many, many other stories identical to that. Yeah. People that have had their tech stolen, their phones or their laptops or cars. Yeah. And of course, they've been able to track them. And the police have said, well, you go and get it back. What? You're the police. It's stolen property. If you recover it, you might just gather some evidence about who stole it. Yeah. But it's not happening. The police are under huge pressures. Senior police officers will not tell the truth about the catastrophic state of certain police services, in particular the Met, with a huge lack of detectives, overworked, morale on the floor. Yep. It's in a catastrophic state, and we need the truth to be told so it can be fixed properly.
Stephen, we're going to wave my magic political wand and make you the Home Secretary for a week. That's a scary thought, by the way. What would you do?
If I was the Home Secretary, I'd get the David Blunkett playbook out and say, David Blunkett, one of the best Home Secretaries we've ever had. Two things that he went for. One was neighbourhood policing. And the other, he stopped the old process in the Met whereby you got shifted onto another station after 10 years automatically. So neighbourhood policing, neighbourhood watch, having the community working with the police, but above all, having those local feet on the beat, locally on the ground, who know what's going on. They know the villains, they know the scroats, and they know where to nick them and lift them. That's what we need. Bring it back to the community, bring it back to the neighbourhood, and have that link at last reinstalled between the people and the police.
Peter, let's talk about diversity and equality within the police force, not just any public service, but the police force specifically. Has this worked? Has it made coppering better?
They've become obsessed by it to the detriment of other areas of policing. And there's almost been positive discrimination as certain senior police officers have chosen to fill their ranks with women, for example, or people from other minority kind of groups.
But we should have women in the police force.
I completely agree. I completely agree. My wife had a glittering police service and was a brilliant detective. Yeah. And I worked with some wonderful women police officers. I really did. Some are absolutely brilliant. But the whole obsession with this diversity, equality and inclusion thing is that they try and force square pegs into round holes, and it doesn't work. And the police now has a raft of groups, different groups for all different minorities, and so many of them are pulling in opposite directions. There's a lack of harmony, and morale is just collapsing.
Stephen, has Peter got a point on that in his quest for diversity?
He has. I mean, it's a bit of, sort of the, sort of doom and gloom. But I mean, there's a very popular film out at the moment called Wicked Little Letters, and it's set in Littlehampton in 1922. And this film, which has just been made, the lead police officer...
Was you around then, Stephen, 1920?
I was around, yeah. The WPC Moss is played by an Asian woman. Okay. Half the police officers in it are black. Now, I don't know about Littlehampton in 1922, but I rather suspect that there weren't a huge number of black police officers there. So it seems to me that we're desperately trying to bend over backwards to actually meet an unmet need. Because at the end of the day, what my ex-constituents, what your constituents want is somebody to solve it. They don't necessarily care about the sexuality or the inclination of that particular person. They just want somebody in uniform to actually to deter and detect the two basic principles of policing.
I guess if you're out one Saturday night with the missus or whatever, Peter, and you come into a spot of bother with a gang of youths and you need help pretty sharpish, and you see you need the coppers to come, in force and rescue, if you like. You're not bothered what background they're from, are they? Or
no, of course not.
You just want them to do the job.
Yeah, of course you do. But there's an important message here. Because the police don't patrol the streets, generally speaking, there is a huge responsibility upon us all, sadly, to ensure that we are not victims of crime. Yeah. So we have to get that burglar alarm, that CCTV system, that steering lock on our car. And when we go out, and this hurts me to the pit of my stomach to say it, if you've done well for yourself and you've got a nice watch, there are certain places where you most definitely
what
should not
what
wear
about
it.
Peter, solving crimes? What about these new detectives we've got? What sort of training have they had?
Direct entry detectives. Yeah. So some smart aleck in senior policing, probably the College of Policing, thought that you can drag somebody off the street who's watched 2 episodes of Vera and suddenly turn them into a detective.
Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, they're finding out that you can't do that.
Yeah.
They did away with the natural progression,
Yeah.
doing your bit in uniform, learning the job, learning how to deal with prisoners and witnesses and all that kind of stuff, and then see if you're suitable to be a detective. And the Met in particular are paying the price for it. They're hemorrhaging them as quickly as they come through the front door.
Okay.
I spent time with one just the other day, and he said to me, Peter, he said, I really wish I'd gone through the usual route by going in uniform first. He said, because as a direct entry detective with a degree in geography, I hasten to add.
That's handy, isn't it?
Yeah, really handy for police work.
Yeah.
He said, I tell you, seasoned detectives resent me. He said, I'm not very good at my job because I quite frankly don't know what I'm doing, and consequently victims have failed. And that was from the mouth of a direct entry, young, enthusiastic detective.
Stephen, you look like a fan of Vera. Is Peter right, what he's saying?
Peter's nearly always right because I'm too terrified to disagree with him, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. But I mean, I did a lot of work with the police service of Northern Ireland when I was based over there and in Garnerville, the police training college. And I used to say, you have a very, very rigorous, like a 2-year programme before you actually let them out on the street. Don't you think you're going to have burnout? And somebody said to me, I'd rather lose them in the training stage than 2 or 3 years down the line. So I think maybe the old Hendon model actually worked. I don't know what Peter thinks, but from my perspective, it actually seemed to be a little bit more effective.
And the 2-year probationary period, when you were at Hendon for 16 weeks, the staff got a very good look at you. It was also residential.
Yes.
So if you weren't up to it, you would pretty much get wheedled out. The study, if it was too much, you'd be gone. Our class started with, I think it was around 25 or 30, and 7 of us made it to the end of the line.
Wow.
A cost-effective way of doing it, rather than having somebody in service for 2 or 3 years and then finding they're not suitable. But the powers that be in policing now will say, that's all old hat, we've moved on, it's all very, very different. And of course, it is very different. But I would say to them, but is it any better?
On that note, we've got to finish, Stephen, because we've got what's coming up next. Massive thanks, Peter. Massive thanks, Stephen. Okay. But coming up next, we've got Emma Wolfe, journalist. She's going on the right versus left with that man over there, Stephen Pound.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Absenteeism. And parents whose children miss a week or more of school face increased fines in a government drive to tackle absence.
This is another one of those government policies which has done nothing to improve the education of our children. In fact, since this was originally introduced some 10 years ago, the educational standards for our children, the 11-year-olds who can't read when they go up to primary school, have got worse and worse and worse. So it's not working. So what do? They just increase the fine, like that may make it work. Most of the parents who get fined are taking their kids out so they can take them on a holiday before the holiday companies push the prices up. And frankly, as a parent, if I've got a £600 discount on my holiday versus a £60 fine, I'm going to go for the £60
You'll suffer the fine.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the other huge absence that children had recently during COVID. Schools were closed for months and months on end. Online learning was really not making up for that. So how can, it's very difficult for the government to say it was fine for us to take your kids out of school for months, but if you take them off for a few days to go to Disneyland, then you are the worst parent ever and you should
But also, it's the pandemic that caused some of the problems with absenteeism now.
Absolutely.
Because the mental health issues that some of these children now have.
And there are tens of thousands of children, they call them ghost children, that have simply disappeared from the school register. So it would be nice. It's really, really scary situation. I'm not saying that the government is, taking great measures.
Well, I think one of their plans is to have a national register, which would help with that.
Which would definitely help. But I think they can't deal with the real problem, so they're going after actually perfectly, decent parents who are just taking the odd day off, to save money, frankly.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Joining me now for Right versus Left, we've got my old mucker, Stephen Pound, former Labour MP and wannabe Tory. Is that right, Stephen? And
if you repeat that, I'll shoot you.
A journalist, Emma Wolfe. Welcome back to the show, Emma. Budget this week.
Yeah.
Raised a few eyebrows. Good news about the national insurance cut, but should it be cut altogether? Emma?
National insurance, yes, it should be scrapped. It's basically, what is it? It's a tax on employers. It's a tax, it's a sort of double taxation. It's a stealthy tax. It's a tax where you think, right, I've paid my income tax. Oh, and then you've got to pay all this. It's a tax which disproportionately affects the poor. Let's be real about this. It was set up in 1911 by, like, the Poor Commission. It was for the relief, it was for the alleviation of economic and social hardship for the poor. I actually think if you introduced a tax these days that was like a voluntary contribution towards a proper health and social care system, people might pay into that. But what is national insurance? People don't even understand what it is. I think it all just goes into one big pot.
It probably does. Stephen, 1911, you was around then when this was introduced. Is it time for it to be scrapped?
Yeah, no. I mean, look, the first thing is the government love national insurance. Let me just tell you why they love it. Because they don't have to do anything. The employers have to do it. The employers have to collect it. The employers have to send it in. So from the government's point of view, it is bunts. It is absolutely wonderful. But look, the first question you've got to ask, if not national insurance, where do we get the money from? Now, we could increase taxation. You know, I can understand the simplicity of that. But politically, I can imagine it'd be quite difficult. But look, the idea of national insurance, I think, is fundamentally, it's a good idea that, you know, we are all members of this nation and this is our insurance. It's supposed to pay principally for health and pensions, which is why when Lloyd George and following on from Campbell Bannerman brought it in 1911, it was actually so they could introduce the Pensions Act. It may have been for the alleviation of the poor, but it was the first time we actually had state pensions, and that's where it came from. I think we need to actually have another look at it, but you find an answer as to where we're going to get the money from instead of that, and you're going to find yourself in a fairly tricky position.
It's a fair point, Emma.
It is, but I actually think the inland revenue, you say the employers have to collect it. I actually think that the inland revenue are wasting billions and millions of pounds, probably not billions, millions of pounds on having to manage the whole system. I think, look, let's be transparent. You know, we've got such a complicated tax system. Most people don't understand it. And I think that national insurance is one of those taxes that are not fair. They're really not fair because, you know, if you're a wealthy employee, you don't notice it. If you're just a regular PAYE, everybody on PAYE has to pay this. And I just think that actually, let's be transparent, let's simplify the tax code, and let's be clear about where the money's going from and where it's going into. What's going into?
Well, there's something very important, something very symbolic. I mean, I'm older than pretty much everybody, but when I started work when I was 15, 16 years old, we had a stamp. We actually had a booklet. At the end of every week, your boss would actually put that stamp in your booklet. There was a national insurance stamp. And you actually felt, it was like an investment. You actually felt that you had some stake in what was going on. Now, that was very, very symbolically important. Now, we got rid of that, and I think to a certain extent it is now confused. I don't know, Emma, whether you believe in this sort of flat tax idea that they tried in Estonia and a few other places, where it doesn't matter what you earn, the level of taxation.
I was going to come on to that, Stephen, because we see the threshold is now, I think it's £12,500. That's raised from about £6,000 from 14 years ago. Would it be fair, Emma, if everybody pay a flat rate of tax, say 10-15%?
No, I think if you're earning more, you pay more, and I think that's the way it's always been in this
the case
country.
anyway.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that we understand that the wealthy can shoulder more of the burden. You know, which is why it's a good thing that we're scrapping all the non-dom loopholes and things like that.
Okay.
You know, that's a really positive
other
move.
good Labour policies. But look, I mean,
how many times have you guys spent that non-dom £3 billion? How many times?
It's paid for everything.
It's the magic money tree, isn't it?
It's paid for the education, it's paid for defence.
Well, come on.
It has.
It's like the Liberals.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Do you remember the longest P in history when the Liberals wanted to put 1p on income tax? They're going to pay for everything out of that. Look, here's the interesting thing. If you didn't...
It's the only policy you've got at the moment, isn't it?
How long have you got? Look, if nobody paid income tax, nobody paid national insurance, you'll still pay tax because every time we buy anything in the shop, we pay tax. We pay VAT, so we're being triple taxed.
We are.
Yeah. So, I mean, the idea, I think you're quite right to talk about simplification. I think the UK tax guidance is what, 2,800 pages? And God
exactly.
knows,
I don't think Jeremy Hunt understands it. I don't think, you know, Labour certainly don't understand it. Look, I think
that's a fairly low bar.
My point here is that we want to encourage employment. We've got an entire country where a lot of people are sitting on benefits. We want to encourage employment. We've got to get the country moving. We've got to invest. When you have a tax on employment in this way, because it's a tax on employers, they have to pay it.
Well, let's talk about tax on employers. Let's talk about the VAT threshold, which went up from 85 to 90,000. I would have liked to seen that be a lot higher. I know small businesses, independent traders back in Ashfield who are just, you know, they want to expand, but they need that encouragement.
Well, the thing about VAT is it's a choice. You know, you don't have to buy a packet of cigarettes. You don't have to pay a huge amount. But look, I mean, I do some work for a local community transport company, and as soon as they brought in the London living wage, that's had a huge hit on us. Now, it's very easy for the government to say we're going to introduce a national or a London living wage, but, you know, who actually has to pay it? You know, but the employers. Now, I appreciate...
Well, that was a Labour policy, though,
yeah. Indeed, it was, and it's the idea of a level playing field is a very good one. But you can't just concentrate on the one thing, which is why I hate to say, but I'm kind of edging towards your argument of having a single wraparound taxation system. It would be fiendishly difficult to enforce.
It would, but in the long term, I think it would simplify things. You're earning this, you pay this. You're earning that, you pay that.
In the long term, we're all dead.
Well, that's the only two certain things, death and taxes.
So overall, did you benefit from that at all, Stephen?
Well, no, I didn't, and mostly because I'm a pensioner. I don't pay
You don't look that old, to be honest.
No, I look older. But look, Lee, there's one actually very, very serious thing that was missing from that budget. I didn't see anything about defence expenditure. We've never known a more dangerous time in the world, and where was the money for a defence? That was what was missing, and I think a lot of people are waking up this morning saying, well, hang on a second, you know, where's the beef? What's going on here? We got this sort of headline grabbing. It's not even a rabbit out of the hat. It's
Emma, you're a mother. You've got a small child.
Yeah, and I'm a single mother, so I should, in theory, I haven't looked into it, I should, in theory, benefit from this thing about raising the income on the single income household. So that's a good thing. But I'm actually worried. OK, that budget was wildly underwhelming to me. Really? That's what you've got that's what you've got at a time when we're in crisis and we are heading into an election. I'm really sorry. That budget was a nothing. People up and down the country are saying, how does this help me? Yeah, a 2p cut in national insurance. That was pretty much it. No rabbit out of the hat, nothing. The country... Yeah, well, no, people are not feeling it. People are not going to feel that they massively benefit from this. I think that Jeremy Hunt needed to do something bolder. If anything is going to shift before the next
Stephen, we had Labour wittering on in the chamber yesterday.
Wittering on? Sophisticated debate is the word you're looking for.
Wittering on. What would they have done differently? What's their plan? What's their policies?
Well, I spoke to James Murray, Shadow Secretary of the Treasury, this morning, and he was saying all this great stuff. And I'm not, you know, I know I attack Labour, but I'm open to ideas because I think the Conservatives, after 14 years, are kind of running out of ideas. And what James Murray, he says all the good stuff, but they're still not putting any meat on the bones. We still don't have Labour policies. He's still talking airily about businesses up and down the country, you know, talking vaguely about business rates, talking vaguely about investing in the country. But they're not really, they still keep saying, we need to see what the finances are, we need to see what the situation is. It'll be in the manifesto. Well, we're coming probably within months now of an election.
Well, it'll be November, won't it? Come on.
Yeah, OK. But still, that's still 6 months. Let's have some detail.
Well, just one single plan, Stephen? What have they got to offer the public? What have they got?
With Scraparanda, we'd actually start processing
Oh,
immigration.
here we go.
But that's a negative. That's not a positive. That's a policy.
The money with £170,000 per person we're going to ship out.
Okay.
And also
so
defence
scrapping
procurement.
Rwanda and doing what?
Doing
what? And doing what about migration?
I tell you what we do
all the time. Just one moment, Steve. Calm down, Steve. Watch your blood pressure. All we hear all the time is smash the gangs.
Yes,
that's all we hear. How do we do that, Stephen?
Cracking down on the people smugglers. Starmer's never explained how.
What I'm talking about is doing what we used to do: process all those asylum cases in northern France. And don't forget, a lot of those people who come in are entitled to be here.
We already have a backlog in this country.
I know.
Right, guys, look, we have to calm it down. Just lower the temperature. We can see it's getting a little bit heated. It's time now for the yes or no quiz. You've done this about 10 times now,
I've never won it.
Well, no, because you get them all wrong.
I think I lost last time.
Yeah, right. Remember, it's yes or no. We spoke on the show tonight about policing in the country. Yeah. So it's all about policing, this one is, Stephen. So, number one, Emma, are the police losing control of our streets?
Yes.
Yes.
Stephen. Number two, Stephen, would you like to see a return to old-fashioned coppering?
Yes.
Yes.
Emma, number three, do we have a sufficient deterrence in place?
No.
No.
Neck and neck. Have the police and crime commissioners in this country been a success, Emma?
No.
No way. No.
Done it again, hasn't he? He's had two after Shandy, so I can't give you that one, mate. And number five, Stephen, has the quest for diversity improved our police force?
No.
Stephen, you've done it again, haven't you? It's a simple yes.
I've fallen at the last fence.
Yeah, you're doing really, really well, but you fell again.
Wolf streaks into the lead.
5 out of 5. A pathetic score again from Stephen Pan.
4.5 I got.
We're gonna, do you want to come back on one, Emma?
I'd like to say we have completely... I mean, look, half of burglary is not even being investigated. People too frightened. These bread and butter crimes, like burglary, like shoplifting, the police have given up on. People too frightened to leave their homes because they've been burgled and they think they're going to be broken into again. And they're too frightened to stay at home because they've been burgled. It's really appalling that the police, for whatever reason, under-resourcing, the fact that they're busy staring at screens and filling out forms, whatever it is, we have lost
OK, so let's come to Steve now. Steve, I'm not going to go back on one for you, but what I want you to do is explain yourself why you keep getting this quiz wrong.
A, I can't keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
And B, I don't have the posh education that you had.
Yeah.
So I'm not skilled in this, in obfuscating and answering questions.
I think my education would have been pretty similar to yours. I left school, went down the pit. You left school and went in the Navy. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, well, to be in the Navy was like sort of being in prison, but with the added fear of drowning.
Would you recommend it? Would you do it all again?
I would. I mean, the modern Andrew is a difficult. It's a very different one. In my day, it was a very industrial. So.
And what was it like in the war?
Which war are we talking about?
First one.
I mean, Trafalgar was grim. I said. As I said to Nelson, I said, "Oi, no."
Look, that's brilliant again, guys. Stephen, hope to have you back on again at some stage. I'm really looking forward to the day when you get 5 out of 5. Emma, you smashed it.
Absolutely.
Not very stiff competition, though, was it? But look, coming up next on this brilliant show, we're going back in the day with magician Graham P. Jolly.
Hello again, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update. It should stay dry through this evening for many areas, but rain and showers will push up from the southwest to bring some showery outbreaks of rain for many of us this weekend. That's as a result of this low pressure system bringing these weather fronts into the southwest through this evening. So that will bring some showery outbreaks of rain for parts of Devon and Cornwall through this evening. Elsewhere, though, it should be dry for much of the evening and through much of the night, having said that, but it will be quite cloudy and breezy. That will limit any frost to just the far northwest of Scotland, but it will be a fairly chilly start to the weekend with that easterly breeze continuing. The the wind will be quite strong, particularly over the high ground and northwestern areas throughout Saturday. And further south, we'll see cloud thicken through the afternoon with some drizzly outbreaks of rain to come around lunchtime. Across central and southeastern areas, there will be some brighter weather through the afternoon, but that will allow some showers to break out. Those showers could turn quite heavy across parts of the southwest, so some very heavy rain is possible for parts of Dartmoor, parts of South Wales as well. That rain will be much more widespread through Sunday, particularly across eastern areas of England, as well as parts of Scotland, where there'll be some quite persistent and heavy rain at times. So there could be some flooding issues by the end of the weekend. There will be quite a lot of cloud around on Sunday, but some brighter spells in the southwest. That rain slowly clears through Monday to leave a much drier and brighter day on Tuesday. Bye-bye.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News. Every Wednesday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions when Rishi Sunak and Sir Keir Starmer go head-to-head in the House of Commons.
We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
Welcome back to Lee Anderson's Real World. We're going back in the day now with this chap here, iconic magician, Graham P. Jolly. Bag of tricks here. Yep. Let's talk about magic, though. Does it really exist?
Well, from the point of view of illusion, it does. But, of course, magic's changed tremendously over the last, I should say, 20 years. Okay. I mean, I was brought up in the era of David Nixon.
David Nixon.
Who always reminds me of Ian Duncan Smith.
That's a fair point, fair point.
And Robert Harbin, David Berglass.
Tommy Cooper.
Tommy Cooper.
Great magician.
Oh, wonderful magician. Actually, very, very good. But he discovered that by going wrong, the audience loved him even more. Yeah. But then, of course, I think it was about 20 years ago, there was a sea change in magic. We have people like Dynamo, David Blaine.
Yeah.
In fact, I met Dynamo the other day at the Magic Circle.
Really?
I'll never forget what he said to me.
What's that?
Who are you?
Really?
Yeah, but he's a lovely fella, very fine magician. But I think it was about 30 years ago.
What got you interested in magic?
Well,
did you do tricks at school?
Yeah,
Was
I
you
did. I went to boarding. Well, yeah, I went to boarding school, and I wasn't into football and cricket. Yeah. No, I love cricket. Took up magic.
Okay.
But I mean, in those days, mentalism, which is very popular at the moment, mind reading, it was sort of.
Can you read my mind?
Well, I'm going to try.
Go on then. Okay. Have a go.
Well, earlier today, I had a premonition. A lot of men in my age do. In my wallet, I always keep an envelope. The envelope contains a playing card. I won't show you what the card is, Lee. I'll just place it back on the wallet and ask if you would to keep the wallet in a safe place.
Okay.
A pocket. Now, Lee, in a moment, I'd like you, if you would, to kindly select or think of one of these 52 cards.
Think of one?
Yeah, well, in a moment. But a very strange thing will happen. The card you think of will be the very same card which I've placed in the wallet. Yeah. Do you think that's possible?
No.
No is the correct reply. Would you hold the cards, and from the top, would you deal them face up onto my hand, one by one? Continue dealing, Lee, and when you feel the impulse, I'd like you to stop. Don't stop at a particular card, but just stop at a random position. You want to stop here? Yeah. You happy there?
Yeah.
Would you turn over the card you stopped at? Can I just show everybody? Leo stopped at the 8 of clubs. I think you'd agree you could have stopped at any one of these cards.
Yes.
You could have stopped at any one of the few remaining. But Lee, you stopped at the 8 of clubs. May I have the wallet, please?
You can.
Because the wallet, ladies and
The
gentlemen,
magic wallet.
contains an envelope. The envelope contains a playing card. And that card today is the 8
Wow.
Of clubs.
That's magic.
Extraordinary. Now, that wasn't mind reading.
No.
That was suggestion and phrasing my words to influence you to stop at a particular spot. Doesn't always work.
And what's these bag of tricks you've got here? What's all that about?
Well, do you like to take risks?
Yeah,
Well,
I took a few recently.
Yes, you have. Well, this is a calculated risk. In each bag is a small block of wood, and the idea of the block of wood is just to keep the bags upright and stop them falling over. But in one of the bags, I'm going to place a spike, a 5-inch, I think it's about 5-inch spike. Lee, would you hold your hand out flat?
Yeah.
That palm.
I like that. Okay.
That's pretty painful.
That's
isn't it?
painful, yeah.
You wouldn't
Yeah,
want that
yeah.
through you. So I'm just going to place that in the bag. Now, I don't want you to know where that.
I'm looking away.
particular-
Good.
Okay, I'm just
I'm
going to
looking
turn my back, move them around. You can turn around now, Lee. Now, five bags, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 of the bags are safe. 4 of the bags are safe, but one of them is dangerous. I'm going to try and influence you so you avoid the dangerous bag.
danger.
Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I flip my finger, just call out 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
3.
3. Okay, this one.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't want to change your mind. Okay. Lee, as I pass my hands over them like this, just call out stop when you feel some sort of impulse.
Stop.
Here.
Brave man.
Just put your hand there and pass over. And don't bring your hand down because it might go wrong. But when you feel you're over a safe bag...
A safe bag?
Just stop. Just stop.
This is a safe bag.
You think this is safe?
Yeah.
Can I just hold your wrist? Tell me when you think you're over a safe bag.
A safe bag. That's a safe bag.
I think this is a safe bag.
So I'm doing all the work here. I'm predicting the safe bags. I mean, it should be me that's getting a round of applause.
And there... It works.
Yeah, they've been quite cruel to Apple. How did you learn that trick?
Trial and error.
Because it is a trick, isn't it? Have you got any scars on your hand to prove it?
Shall we try one more?
No. So magic's changed over the years, obviously.
Yes.
They're more like illusionists now, aren't they? They're not doing the card tricks. They're not doing tricks like this. It's all the big stage stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I think things will come back, go in a cycle. Sleight of hand. You know, there's some wonderful sleight of hand performers around.
Yeah.
Paul Gordon always stands out, gentleman in Worthing. And I think there'll be a...
Are you allowed to reveal any secrets?
Well, we're not supposed to, but there are...
But you can get them on YouTube, can't you?
Yeah, a lot of magicians see no reason why...
What about sawing women in half? How does that happen?
Well, that's technology. Yeah. It's not really sleight of hand.
Okay. And these escapologists, I saw an escapologist on the embankment just a few weeks back, all chained up in a sack, and then, hey presto, 2 minutes later, he's out.
I don't class that as magic so much. It's more endurance, isn't it? And, yeah.
Obviously, I mean, when I was growing up, I had a magic set for Christmas, I can remember, and it got me really interested in magic. I mean, soon lost interest, but that's sort of how you start, isn't it, as a child looking at TV.
Normally you're about 7 or 8.
You get that magic set for Christmas, and you get carried away. And
Auntie Mary buys you a box of magic.
And you're boring people to death with the tricks, aren't you?
And then you get to about 12 or 13 and you lose interest.
Yeah.
And then it comes back again.
Okay. So Britain's Got Talent, you was on there, weren't you?
No, it wasn't on it.
Was it?
They asked me, but they thought I wouldn't be suitable.
Why?
I think it was my sense of humour.
Okay. Well, I bet we got one. Look, I mean, that's a wonderful discussion. Do you do, like, children's shows and parties and stuff like that? It's
corporate engagement.
It's corporate engagement. It's a bit of after-dinner speaking.
Yeah, that's
and you can read minds as well.
That's right,
true?
yeah.
Or will predict the future for people.
I did. Well, I predicted who would win the Tory new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. I got it right, unfortunately.
Yeah, so did 99% of the population.
Yeah.
So, I think we all got that right.
But I also predicted who would also be in the race.
Yeah, okay.
But I made a prediction about Donald Trump.
Okay, yeah. Well, Graham, you're going to come back for On the Poll, but coming up next, we've got entrepreneur at Chantal Leverton.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, weekdays from 9 p.m.
Well, to cut a very long story short, I was the chaplain in a school, and a pupil asked me to preach on how come they were told they had to accept the LGBT stuff in a Christian school. I thought that was a fair question. So I said, ultimately, no, you don't have to accept anybody else's ideas. You make up your own minds. And so on topics like the marriage being between a man and a woman, biological sex being real, gender identity not making perfect sense, therefore can't be entirely true. I said, you may adopt to the church's position on that and respect the people you disagree with, but you make up your own mind, for which, as you say, I was reported to Prevent, the anti-terror watchdog, secular safeguarding authorities, the Teaching Regulation Agency, Disclosure and Barring Service, all of whom eventually cleared me, but I lost my job at the school, and that's why there's legal action ongoing.
It's an incredibly powerful sermon, to be fair. What do you make of Justin Welby in his current role? I've obviously rattled off quite a few things there. I mean, you've had personal experience of feeling quite abandoned. What's your view on his position?
Well, he's doing a very difficult job, in fairness to him. My personal view is perhaps he's not doing the best job of it. I'll be diplomatic about it. In a sense, I'm on the wrong side of things as far as he's concerned, I guess. Not a word of support, not a whisper from anyone in the Church of England's hierarchy for someone simply saying, you may accept the Church of England's own teaching. And I can't quite see how he can square that in his own head, but he would have to answer to that himself, I guess.
I mean, the irony is that, though this is obviously through no fault of your own, the Church of England has recently baptised people who have gone on to not just be referred to Prevent, but actually commit acts of terrorism. Meanwhile, you were referred to Prevent for essentially teaching.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel.
That's Last Orders at the Bar, joined by the very lovely Chantal Leverton, entrepreneur, model, musician, jack of all trades. Can we say jack of all trades, or is it Jill of all trades?
Whatever you prefer.
You play an instrument.
I do.
A viola, which one is it?
Viola, yeah.
Tell me how that started then, Chantal.
So, going way back, I started the violin when I was 7 and continued through and kind of fell in love with music and progressed to the Royal Academy of Music, so I was classically trained. And then, what you plan for never really usually happens. I thought I'd graduate and become a classical musician, but sort of fell in.
There's a twist to this story, isn't there?
There's a twist, yeah. So we started sort of as students gigging outside of college to earn a few bucks, and ended up on the McFly tour playing electric violin.
How did that happen? From being a classical musician to going with a boy band?
So when we were at college, we were all freelance musicians as well, so, earn a bit of extra money. And so my 3 best friends and I randomly got booked for this tour together, which doesn't usually happen. Usually you don't necessarily know who you're going to gig with. And on this tour, the McFly boys wanted us on electric instruments. So they had a male string quartet and a female string quartet. And we just backed their songs on stage, and it was just a great tour. And from that, a Scala was born, really. We just took that sort of recipe
it must
and
be
carried
amazing,
it on.
being classically trained, playing these what we call posh instruments, and seeing a sort of future for yourself doing that. Then you find yourself on stage in front of thousands of screaming young ladies, I would imagine.
Yes.
I've seen some of the clips on YouTube of these concerts. How did that feel for you?
Well, it just gave us a taste to what arena concerts were all about, and the energy that you get from the audience is something so special.
Okay.
So I think once you've had a taste of it,
it becomes something that you work towards.
Okay.
And that's really what we took from that tour.
So you don't have the buzz anymore of these big concerts, but you've got a different sort of buzz in your life now. You've got 2 children.
I have 2 beautiful girls, Sophia, who's nearly 9, and Sienna, who's 7. So once the Scala, well, I left in 2015, 8 months pregnant, and decided to be a stay-at-home mummy. I felt like I'd sort of achieved everything I wanted to in the music business, and I sort of wanted to leave it on a high, in a way.
Okay.
And I felt like it was the right time of life to just stay at home with my babies and
So
raise
kids
them.
like 5 and 9 years old now, I think they are, did you say?
7 and nearly 9.
7 and nearly 9, so you've got that little bit of freedom now.
I do.
A bit of independence, so what are you going to do with your spare time?
So this is it. I think once you become a stay-at-home mum, I'm sure it's a very common issue. It's very easy to lose your identity within
You can watch
motherhood.
Loose Women all day, can't you?
I mean,
Something
I
like that.
could. No, never
Or
had time
GB
for
News
that.
is even better.
Or GB News.
Yeah.
So I think now I feel like I've got a bit more time. They're at school. I just want to get back out there, find my independence again, find some purpose and fulfillment again, instead of just being Sophia and Sienna's mummy, which is lovely, but it would be nice to build something
So where do you
for
see
myself.
yourself in 5 years' time?
Ooh,
that's
a question. I would like to be doing a bit more modelling. It's something I really enjoy. I had a lot of experience with that when I was in the group. We did lots of interviews and photo shoots, and it's something I always really loved. Again, with coupling that with fashion, so I've begun my journey on starting my own little resort wear fashion line, and that's something I'd love to see come to fruition in the future.
Is it making money, your fashion line?
Well, I haven't launched it yet. I hope it will.
And how do people find out about your fashion line? Where would they go to find that?
So it's called Luna and Sky, which are the middle names of my children.
Okay.
I have sort of bagged my Instagram name and building a website.
Do you need any models?
Well,
Yeah.
if you're up for it,
Yeah.
I'm not laughing.
Is it, will it be male fashion on there or just women?
Unfortunately, it is women's resort wear,
Okay, well, I'll
so I'm
give
not
that- I'll give
sure
that to Miss
that's
then.
really your bag.
Look, we've got you here for a reason behind the bar, Chantal. We're going to do On the Pole. We're going to bring back Graham, the magician. Where is he?
Here we are.
Come back here. Right, you need a pint pot at a piece. Try saying that. 1 each. And these 2 pumps here.
Yeah.
And you've got 30 seconds. No, together.
I mean, I've never done this.
Well, it don't matter. 30 seconds to pull a pint and plug down the bar. Go. And you can plug down the bar.
I think you might win.
Let's have a look.
Okay.
Go and pay attention, please.
Sorry, I'm trying.
Try and pay attention. Chantal, that's not a bad pint, actually.
My hands are shaking.
I think Graham's winning.
Yeah.
That's a bit quicker, Chantal.
Oh.
There.
That's about
Do
a metre.
my best.
No. He's doing quite well. If you can put that on the bar when you've got a full head on, Graham, and you, Chantal, at the front here.
Oh, God, mine doesn't have any frothy bits.
Now, I saw you looking previously, Chantal, at the tricks that Graham was doing on the bar with the spike in the block.
Yes.
That looked very dangerous. That could have ended nastily.
It could, and it has done.
Any tips for young people doing that sort of trick?
Avoid that one.
Avoid the nail.
Stick to card tricks.
Yeah, card tricks.
Yes, yes.
Are you interested in magic, Chantal?
Yeah, always.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, should we try one?
Why not?
Look, they're the cards.
Okay.
Okay, I'll flick through them and just remember a card you see. Just see it, all right?
Okay.
Don't tell me. Here we go.
Right.
Do you get one? Mm-hmm. Okay, just think of that card. Try and visualise it in front of you. Okay, I've got one card here. What was your card?
7 of Hearts.
7 of Hearts.
How did he do that?
I don't know.
It's magic.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
How did you do that?
Well, shall I try one quick one with you?
Yeah, quick one.
Tell you what. Commons Dictionary, 1,000 pages.
Yeah.
Across the top.
Hold on. Let me put
do you need your glasses?
I need my glasses.
Sorry. Over 1,000 pages. We can check this by looking at the number of the last page, just save counting. Now, you'll notice across the top, 1, 2, 3, 4 words. Is that right?
Yep.
Disburden.
Yep.
One enrolment.
I get it, yeah.
Lee, would you hold the book like that?
Yep.
Look at me. When I put my finger, open the book wide, somewhere in the middle. Open it. Look across the top. From left to right, you've got 4 words. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Which would you like? The first, second, third, or fourth?
First.
Look at it again, would you?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it? Close the book. Now, Lee, there's over 200,000 different definitions in this book about words, but you got one word in particular. Chantal, would you think of a number between 1 and 100, okay? And for later verification, just make a note of it. Nice and big in the middle of the circle. Don't let me see it. Have you got it? Fold it up.
Very exciting.
Fold it.
Yeah. Oh,
Have you
fold
folded it? Yes.
No, hang on.
Okay. If I can have the pen back. I'm not a wealthy man. And thank you so much. So you have a word and a number.
Yep.
And very quickly.
Is it going to take long, this?
No, just
I've got a train to
very,
catch.
very quickly. Just take a small bunch of cards. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a word. Do you think of the word enrolment?
No.
You can keep it there. You have a number. 60. Is it a 6? 61.
No.
Forget it.
Oh, there you go. That's magic.
That's
and that's
magic.
on the poll.
It's a
I'm giving
6.
that a 10. No, it's not having a 10 because it's just going straight wrong. You're going to have 8, and I'm sorry, that's very flat there. You're going to have a 3.
Okay.
And that's on the poll. Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Over 8.
Thank you.
It was over 8, yeah.
Over 8.
I picked it because I am overrated. Thanks for that, guys.
Is that the word? Over 8.
Over 8, yeah.
Okay. 19.
On the poll.
Yeah.
That's it.
6.
That's good TV. Thanks for watching Lee Anderson's Real World. It's been a really magical show tonight, but tricks don't always go to plan. But coming up next, we've got Friday Night Live with Mark.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again, good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update. It should stay dry through this evening for many areas, but rain and showers will push up from the southwest to bring some showery outbreaks of rain for many of us this weekend. That's as a result of this low pressure system bringing these weather fronts into the southwest through this evening. So that will bring some showery outbreaks of rain for parts of Devon and Cornwall through this evening. Elsewhere, though, it should be dry for much of the evening and through much of the night, having said that, but it will be quite cloudy and breezy. That will limit any frost to just the far northwest of Scotland, but it will be a fairly chilly start to the weekend with that easterly breeze continuing. The wind will be quite strong, particularly over the high ground and northwestern areas throughout Saturday, and further south we'll see cloud thicken through the afternoon with some drizzly outbreaks of rain to come around lunchtime. Across central and southeastern areas there will be some brighter weather through the afternoon, but that will allow some showers to break out. Those showers could turn quite heavy across parts of the southwest, so some very heavy rain is possible for parts of Dartmoor, parts of South Wales as well. That rain will be much more widespread through Sunday, particularly across eastern areas of England as well as parts of Scotland, where there'll be some quite persistent and heavy rain at times, so there could be some flooding issues.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We have a ton of top prizes to be won in our spring giveaway. There's a massive £12,345 in tax-free cash to spend however you like, along with £500 in shopping vouchers for your favourite store, a games console, a pizza oven and a portable Sonos smart speaker. And the best news? You could be our next big winner, just like Phil.
Whoever wins it next is going to be as happy as I was, and they're going to get even more money this time round, so why wouldn't you go in the draw?
For your chance to win the vouchers, the treats and £12,345 in tax-free cash, text prize to 84902. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or post your name and number to GB03 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9